Hello there, digital peeps at YouTube. It's your favorite digital people on the planet, mkgtweety. How are we today? Well, it's been a while since we talked last. And, we have another family update. If you've watched my Instagram, you know that, which is at mkgtweety, which is like my second channel, basically. Um, uh, my dad had a medical emergency, and I was keeping everybody more up to date there, so I do weekly vids over there. I do hauls, so it's like my second channel basically. Here on my YouTube, it's my main channel. So there you go. Another thing I did since we last talked was I joined Threads, and I'm on Twitter, X, whatever we call it, Blue Sky, and Threads, all in the moniker mkgtweety. I also have Pinterest, Tumblr, Wattpad, all in the moniker mkgtweety. And my YouTube here is mkgtweety, and that's mkgtweety is one word to my letters. I posted a new post on my Tumblr, which is called it's how to make a bulletin board. It's it's called Our Little Pumpkin Patch, and it was supposed to come out September, October, but things just get busy and in the way, and you try to hurry and get it done, and then by the time you have it done, it's like November. So please forgive me for that. You can go to my Tumblr, which is mkgtweety.tumblr.com, and if you scroll down the first page, you're able to find that, and you can check it out. You can show it some love. Show lots of love. Thank you. And I show you how to make the board 2 different ways. So how you make the pumpkins for your school age children. I go from K to 4th, 5th grade. After that, the board seems kind of a little kiddish. It's like, ew, I can't deal with the little kids kind of thing. And then the other way is for your daycare preschool ages. And I talk about that in the post. So if you want to check it out, show some love, just go to mkgtweety.tumblr.com. Scroll that first page. If it's not there, then it's probably on the second page. Or you can go to my Instagram, which is at mkgtweety, and click on more of the recent videos. I have an Instagram post telling everybody, hey, I have a post up at Tumblr, and you'll see the blue picture with the blue picture, and it has brown in it, and there's pumpkins, and it looks like a switch, and some bats, and some stars, and a moon. That's the post, so you can go check that out, show it some love. Thank you. Let's see, because if you've been following me on Instagram, I talk more about the day-to-day stuff. Like if I went to Walmart, when I was at Walmart, that kind of stuff. So you get to see all my little hairs. But, it's just, hair's messy. I gotta wash it, you know. So I'm doing well. We'll start with me first, and then we'll go to my mom, and then we'll go, and then we'll talk about my dad with his medical emergency, because that's a story in itself. I'm doing well with the diabetes. I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes February of last year, 2024. And it was, when you get first diagnosed, it was like, took the doctor and blood test to wake my ass up. Because now I have a medical condition that causes me to gain weight. And that's one of the medical conditions that causes me to gain weight. So we've dropped 2 dress sizes. We went from a 3X to a 1X, which is great. Feel pretty good wearing a smaller size. This is my diet iced tea, so I tend to have like 1 to 2 glasses of diet iced tea a day, especially like when it comes to dinner. That's when I'll have it, but any other time I'll just have just water, or I'll drink a bubbly lime. I find it tastes like Sprite with a sweetener in it. So that's my pop. I haven't had a drop of pop in a year. I mean, as soon as I quit immediately. It was hard, but it was one of the most easiest things I will, so if I'm gonna have pop, then I'm going to go reach for a bubbly lime. And all that. So there you go. Let's see, what else? I went to Walmart recently, and, I got, you wanna know what's going on with me? I'll show you, dear little peeps. I got these adult packs for Uno. So you have a swap pack, verse pack, speed pack, and a stack pack. And you have to have the base game of Uno, and then you put one of these in, and it just takes the game to a whole interesting level. I haven't messed with any of those yet, but I have, And then I got Uno liars. And I love what Uno's doing. I also have Giant Uno. I bought that like a while back, but like when it's blue, they put like a square there, and that's for like your colorblind people. Diamond for your blue. It's the liar's card. And if you're caught lying, then you have to draw a penalty card. If you're telling the truth and somebody thinks that you're lying and you show them that you're not lying, and they have to draw the penalty card. And, it's. And then there's like one of these, and and then uh, you have to like swap, uh, I don't know, which one is that? Here, I'll show you better. Like, you have to like swap your hand with somebody and stuff like that. So. But it's a very interesting way of playing Uno. I did get the giant Uno when I was at Walmart, so that was like a couple months ago, I think it was. And I showed it off on Instagram, and I showed my hauls on there and stuff like that. So, so I'm doing fine. I haven't had nothing major happen to me or anything like that. So I've been doing well. Found out my favorite show in the whole entire world, Tramus. Tyamos, you can go look her up. The best singer, songwriter, pianist at all. It's coming out with a new album on April the 10th. Because in April and May, she's going on tour to Europe and UK. We haven't got any US dates yet. Hoping she comes back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, because I live 30 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as to where you don't need to know. But that's generally the area where I live at. Allegheny County, southwestern Pennsylvania. I go by mkgtweety because I like to choose. I just think it's better behind a screen name. I do it for privacy reasons. So there you go. And it's called In Times of Dragons, and it's going to get there. It feels like Native Invader 2.0, because when she came out with that album, Native Invader, in 2017, a little politically motivated, if you will. So I feel like, because of all the political shit we're in at the moment, you either love the Prez, you either love him or hate him. That's just all I'll say about that. He's a very polarizing, and if you're on the right, you're like, like the left wants to yell and scream at you and tell you you're like the worst thing since sliced bread. And then the right's like, well, the Democrats don't know anything, they're woke, they're this, they're that. And then they get, they're not anything, and they get yelled. It's yelling and screaming on both sides. I won't say that much. I'm not going to tell you what side I am, because that you don't need to know, because then we could be here all day and I would probably get canceled. So I don't want to interject politics. I just give you what I think and what I see at times. And all that. So, I'll give you one thought that I have. When you come here illegally, Okay? You're already committing a crime, step one. Because you're supposed to come here legally, not illegally. Okay? Because illegal means you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. Or it's wrong. Illegal means you do things right. You come here the right way and all this kind of stuff. And just by you being here illegally, you're already committing a federal offense / felony. Okay? So, when you add on that you're a criminal, that you do all this other this is just my thoughts about the whole thing. Okay? And this is because I'm just telling you what it is, okay? I know there's people out there that do not like ICE. I know there's people out there that, you know, but, you know, hold on, it'll come to me. When you're here illegally, you're already committing a crime. When you tack on that you did other horrible crimes, like the whole Lake and Riley thing, because the guy that did it was illegal, and they don't have bond, they don't keep these people in jail and all this kind of stuff, that creates a problem. I don't understand why people have a hard time with that. All the president is doing is getting out people who have committed serious violent offenses. Okay, but if you're with other people who happen to be, came here illegally, then they're going to kick you out too. So, I'm just saying, I don't want to cause any fights or drama, but that's what's going on. Why can't people get that through their head? It's just beyond me. And then when Charlie Kirk got shot, that was like, whoa. I would watch him here or there to kind of see what was going on. Like, oh, I've heard about him. I was curious. I just wanted to hear him out, per se. And he'd make some interesting points, which I'm not going to lie. He did. He was trying to show the young people, what actually is truth to their claims. Like, well, this is how I think and how I feel. And he's going to tell you, well, let me tell you the truth, kind of thing. I have to give it up to his wife. I think she's done a fantastic job of holding her composure and forgiving the man that had done this, because it takes a lot to forgive somebody. Let me tell you, it just does. So I give her props for wanting to do that, and for her to hear her soul and all that kind of stuff. And the people who I feel for the most is her children, because they'll grow up never knowing who their father is. They just will never know who he was. Anyway, that's a clock I have that goes about 5 or 10 minutes before it's supposed to bing. So please forgive me for that. That's how it sounds. But anyway, so go to my mom. My mom recently had her blood drawn for multiple myeloma, which type of treatable bone marrow cancer. Now, she had what they call smoldering myeloma. 60% of people that get it stay smoldering, doesn't do anything in the body, it stays smoldering. And it could flare up at any time, any moment. That's why it's kind of like an unpredictable thing. She had like 10, 15 years before it's like little head, and she was going for weight loss surgery. And when you go for weight loss surgery, you have to have all these tests and stuff. And when you go for all these tests, one of which being an endoscopy, which is where they look down at your tummy with the scope, like you go, and And before you get that test, you have to have a blood test. And that was when, through that blood test, they said, your cancer, you're now in the treatable zone, as they call it. So she almost had like a year of chemo. And as I stated in the last update video, that our antennae had to be up because she was creeping back up again. Well, she has now stayed at this whatever 0.5. I think it's 1.5, something like that. I can't remember. It's just, she said it so fast that it went. So it's just 0.5 something, and it actually stayed the way it was. So it could stay that way for a while. It could progress even higher to where we need chemo. It's not if she'll need more chemo, it's when. So like I said, our antennae, little antennaes, have to be up. Like they said, they're closely monitoring my mother. And her knees still hurt. Your knees are supposed to be like this, hers are like this, and you're wondering how she's still walking, talking, and standing. And all that. She can't stand on her knees long and all this kind of stuff. It's just very hard when you can't have the knee surgery that you want because you have this cancer inside you, which has derailed any kind of surgeries that you can have. It's, like I said, it's a treatable form of bone marrow cancer that my mother will have for the rest of her life. I know when she had her emergency appendectomy, when her appendix was taken out, this was back in September of 21, and this was about the time she retired from doing hairdressing. She was a hairdresser since 75, and I've been since, up until that point, it was almost 50 years. And she was going to, she had a hernia from that. And now she can't get that fixed because of the cancer. So, it's very sad and then she was going to get these knee shots in her that could provide, 6 months of cushioning to the knee. Like, it'll allow you to do this a little bit and provide some relief. But because she can't get down the stairs because of her knees, she's basically been upstairs for almost a year now. December 7th was when we were coming back from one of my dad's first cousins, my cousin David. His father is my granduncle Guff. And my granduncle Guff, Lewis is the full name, but he goes by Guff or Guffy, who's married to my Aunt Sally, my grandaunt. And my Uncle Guff's older brother was my dad's father, my grandpa. Full name Francis, but went by Frank in the fam. To, Uncle Frank to everybody else in the family. And then they have a middle child who was my Aunt Helen. My Great Aunt Helen. And my cousin David had a daughter it was one of his older children, who was getting married at the time. And we got to go, it was West Middlesex, PA, it's like 2 hours away from here. It's near like Butler, PA, and out that way, that kind of stuff. And she was getting married, and my mom was coming up the stairs, and she fell on her knees, and it's just like she couldn't go up and down the steps anymore, and all this kind of stuff. And we're trying to get a stair glide or whatever, and it's just taking forever, and all this kind of stuff. They want $15,000 to have it put in. It's a whole thing. And it's just like, we're trying to keep like the guy came and he took photos, and now we have to wait a month to see if the company will do it because we have a narrow shelf. We don't have the wide ones that you see that people use. And we don't know if we'll be able to get it in, and then we keep begging the guy going, hello, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? And it's just, it's a whole thing. Trust me, it is a whole thing. And it's just like, people don't, it's like you get somebody out here for a consultation, and it's like, well, let me see what I can do. And it's like, well, hello, it's been a week. Where's my phone call? What can you do for me? And they don't want to get back to you. It's one of those things. But anyway, my mom just, okay, she got, me and my mom both got over having coughs. She ended up getting, I had laryngitis at first. And I thought I had it for, I think it was 3 weeks. And I thought just when it was starting to go away, I don't know whether if my laryngitis turned into something with my mother, like my germs might have bounced off me to her. She ends up getting a cough. Isn't feeling well. She calls her doctor. They phone in a medicine. She had like an amoxicillin that she had to take for like 10 days. She had these Tussie Pearls, which is a, say, prescription cough pill. It looks like a little gel, teeny tiny gel cap. And then for me taking care of my mother, I was washing, we didn't have any green snot or anything like that. It was just cough and laryngitis, basically what it was. We had like no fevers. Yes, we would blow our nose, but it wasn't like that yellowy, greeny stuff that you get when you are sick. And I would take gloves and I would, her Kleenexes and throw those out and wash my hands. I did all that stuff that you're supposed to do. And I ended up getting a cough. I am sorry I got interrupted. My dad needed something and they kind of called for me. So I'm very sorry about they called me on the home phone. And then I talked to them so they don't have to like yell or anything. And they call from their cell phones. So I'm very sorry. Anyway. And so my mother had to have, oops, sorry, I was having a little bit of popcorn. My mom wanted some popcorn and I just snagged a couple kernels. You know how it is when you be eating popcorn. Anyway, uh, and so, she got really, really sick. She had to have at one point, she had this one long coughing fit. And this was like the weekend. I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday or something like that. And she couldn't, like, she was coughing so hard so much that she was like, just when we thought she was trying to like catch her breath, the coughing would come back. And she called the doctor's office, even though her doctor, me and my mom have the same primary care physician, PCP. And the doctor that was on call was like, well, I can give you a steroid, which will help with the inflammation that you have with your cough and all that. And she goes, great. It's a kind of steroid where you take, I think it's like 6, and then you go to 5. That's 5, 4. It's like you take like 6, and then the next day you take 5, and the next day it's 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. And that really kind of helped quell what was going on with the inflammation inside my mom and all that. So, excuse me, and all that. And so she had to have that for a while. Chest was hurting, back was hurting from coughing. My chest hurted a little bit from coughing. I was taking Mucinex that seemed to kind of, because it's like a 12-hour pill, so that really kind of helped quell my cough significantly. Because I wasn't like hacking everywhere, you know, and all that. Didn't have a fever. The laryngitis came back with a vengeance when I had gotten the cough, and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't have any like yes, I blew my nose, but it wasn't like yellow or green stuff coming out. And all that. So there was another little thing that happened since we last talked. My mom's all better. She's fine. I think hers lingered a tiny bit longer than mine. But she's fine. She's over it. She's all better. I'm all better. So now we're gonna get to my dad. My mom's upstairs. She's resting. She was having her popcorn and trying to go to sleep. Now we're gonna get on to my dad because my dad had a medical emergency. I'm gonna tell you everything that's been going on with him because it's it's kind of the main star at the moment in the household. Um, Now he went for his PT, physical therapy, and they said he was, like, they gave him like these tests and to see how well he was doing. And they said, well, you're gonna have to go back to the back doctor because you're not getting any better. He was like walking like a crotchety drunk old man. Basically, like, he'd get up and do like stumbles, and he has a cane, he has a walker that he mostly uses walker than the cane. Um, and all this, and all that, and uh, so he made an appointment for December the 12th with his back doctor. And we're thinking, well, okay, he's probably gonna have to see a neurologist. We don't know what's going on. So there's part one to that thing with my dad. So we cut to the Monday before. This is the week of Thanksgiving, and we're talking that Monday. So, I mean, just so many things happen in the week of Thanksgiving that it just. So, buckle up, get ready. Here we go. Okay. So, that Monday before Thanksgiving, this is the week of Thanksgiving. So, we're talking like Monday, that Monday. This is like a few days before Thanksgiving. My dad seemed fine in the morning. That very early, it was like 9:30 in the morning. He seemed fine. He seemed okay. He had a sandwich. I know it was like a ham sandwich with spicy brown mustard or spicy turds of mustard, as I like to call it sometimes. And then he goes back upstairs to go be with my mother. My mother loves a cuddle buddy, and he's the cuddle buddy. She lets his arms around him when they sleep. And also, I mean, when you've been together, they've been together 46 years. In August, on the 17th, they celebrated 44 years of wedded bliss since he put a ring on it. And then 2 years after, they were together 2 years, and then they got married in 81. And then 2 years later, I popped out. So, yay for me. Um, I came out in 83, April of 83. So so I'll let you figure out my age. Um, I'm 42. And because I have like lots of learning difficulties and whatnot, like since 87, I had ADHD since I was 4 years old. I got diagnosed. I'm 2 years learning disabled. I got held out in kindergarten because the kindergarten that I was having wasn't giving me enough learning, and so my mom thought that was the best decision she ever made for me. My IQ 70, and then on March 12th, 2018, I got diagnosed as a high-functioning autistic from a doctor who specializes in diagnosing and treating people that have or are suspected of having autism. And she was a heavy accent German doctor. Like, if you think your child may have this, this would be the doctor you would go see to see if you meet the hallmarks for autism. And it was a month before my 35th birthday when I found out I am a high functioning autistic. So it was just like a lot of the things that I do and whatnot. Like when I looked up what it was just like, oh, okay. Okay, I do this, I do, I do this, I do that. It just, She's like, do you press hard when you write? You need to take a crayon and you get etchings. So that's why I don't look like I'm 42, but I am. I know I look a lot younger than what I appear to be. I don't drive. I tried learning how to drive, but it's too much distraction and all that stuff for me. Things like that. So I'm not consistent in things and that kind of stuff. So for those reasons, that's why I live at home. And I'm mostly like I help take care of my mom and dad you know, when I need to go shopping on my mom's legs and all that kind of stuff. So there's your answer to that. If you're interested in wondering. So I know I look very normal to you on the outside, but all my stuff's on the inside. Like, you know, like when you're, like when I'm stressed or scared, things like that, I can cry very, very, very easily. That kind of stuff. Or I'll barf at something, or something doesn't feel right. Just all those kinds of things. And I've been known to cry, so. Um, Especially, you know, I got, you could tell, like, my mother would, like, look at me and could tell, like, when I'm getting a little more emotional than normal. And she goes, oh, you're getting your anti-flow in, like, 3 days. And I'm like, yeah, right. And 3 days would go by, and I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd be like, oh, why does mom always have to be so right? And my mother would call from work when she would have, say, like, if it was 5 minutes before her next customer or whatever, or she had a little bit of a break of something. She would call me and I go, Mom, I go, why do you have to be right? And she goes, why? What's wrong? And I said, guess what I got? And she's like, see, I told you. So, you crying a little more. I'm very sorry again. I got interrupted by my mom. She wanted me to take her popcorn bowl with her, so very sorry for that. Anyway, so, what was going on with my dad? He seemed fine. At 9:30 this morning, he had anyway, he had a sandwich. All this kind of stuff, and I started going on about me. Sorry about that. But you have to understand why I, went home and everything. I'm like their adult disabled daughter, basically. Anyway, so my dad seemed fine. He went back upstairs to go be with my mom. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, uh, he's like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay. So my mom calls me and wants me to help him to the bathroom. And he goes back. I help him. He's like really wobbly than normal. Like he's a little wobbly, like those first couple steps kind of thing. But this was just like I've fallen and I can't get up kind of situation. And he goes, um, he managed to get into the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom. He goes back into the bedroom. And he's acting really, really, really strange. Excuse me, there's your peeps. Oh, sorry about that. You did not need to hear that. Um, and he's like, I gotta go downstairs. So he gets up and he gets his walker and he's trying to go downstairs. He then sits we have a card table upstairs. One of them lifetime tables. You might have seen them at Sam's Club. We have a long white one for outside. And we have our picnic benches. And, we use it because my mother likes to do crafts and things like that. And so she can sit somewhere and do that. We help her get out of bed and we got like this piano bench and, she can sit there, she can do her craft, she can do whatever she needs to do, what have you. And my dad was just sitting there for a minute, because we had like a folding chair that kind of like, excuse me, for anybody else who wants to sit there. And my dad, he sits there for a good like 5 minutes or so, and he's becoming weird. We don't know what's going on. He then gets up, and as he starts to go down, he gets to the top of the stairs. Because when you come to the very top of the stairs, the first room you come to is my room. And then when you go into the hall, if you're standing in the middle of the hall, or in the middle of upstairs, if you look right in front of you, there is the bathroom on your left. On the right's my parents' room. And then there's another room, like after my parents' room, there's like the wall, and then there's the office. And um and all this. And he starts going down the stairs, but he like falls right when he's about to, like right when he's at the, like in front of my door, per se, to my room. And I'm trying to help my dad up off the floor. It's just like, what is going on with my dad? We finally, he's like, you know what, I'm just going to scoot downstairs. So he scoots down on his butt downstairs. I finally get him to his bed. Um, if you can see right there, right there, right there. That's his hospital bed from when he came home from the hospital when he had his back surgery in April. This was like the week of his birthday and all that. Like the 26th is his birthday. My birthday is on the 21st of April. And he's kind of just sitting there, and he's like like trying to do this, and he's just, he's just like doing this rocking, this, and I wanted to go over and shake his, like, snap out of it, man, snap out of it, kind of thing. And that was when he goes, don't you tell me to snap out of it, and he punches me on the shoulder. Didn't hurt, but it was just like, you know. And this was him being agitated. Sometimes senior citizens get that way. He was just becoming real mean and combative. This was just out of the blue. This was like, like my dad has. Yes, he can have his temper at times. It's just like, I told you to pick this up and blah, blah, like that kind of stuff. But it's not like this was like this was just all of a sudden. And my mother became very concerned, and she called 911. They came. It was a cop and his partner, and the two people in the ambulance that came. I guess when these kind of situations happen, I guess an officer has to come. And the officer asking what's going on with my dad. He asked me what happened. I said, oh, he just barely like hit me. Like I have like, it was just like, it was just him. I think it was him just trying to be like, and like get out of my way kind of thing. And all that. And then I guess the officer's partner came in. Because the officer came in. And 2 seconds after that, the AMBO people came. The EMTs came. And they're attending to Daddy. And then right after those two people came, I guess his partner, the cop's partner, came in. And they kind of, they go, and I guess the cop's partner, staying with the AMBO people. I take the cop upstairs to meet my mother. She talks to him about what's going on. It's like, all right, ma'am. He comes downstairs. They decide to take my dad to the hospital. And it's kind of one of those chairs where they strap you in kind of thing. Not a gurney at this point. And he eventually goes to the ER. We were very scared. We were very worried, me and my mother. This has never happened with my dad. Well, it kind of did when he had his bladder infection, because when senior citizens get a bladder infection, they tend to go crazy, a little loopy, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we thought what was going on with my dad, was he was having another bladder infection, and it was manifesting itself into him being in this altered mental state. It wasn't coherent. So we told them that he's had a bladder infection. Make sure that they check for this when he's at the hospital, because he could be developing another one and we not know it. And they said, okay, we'll let the hospital know. So they go there, they check for bladder infection. He does not have one. They do an MRI and CT scan, and at this point, once those results come in, they're thinking he may have had a slight little mini stroke. I think it's a TIM, or is it TMI? I can't remember the acronym, but it's a little tiny little thing. And it's Monday, so we go to Tuesday. Sometime in the afternoon on Tuesday, they send him home. Once he's okay, so he basically spends the night in the ER. And Wednesday comes, that Tuesday night he seems fine. That Wednesday comes, we go to Bob Evans to pick up our the farmhouse feast. You get turkey, all the trimmings, ham, mac and cheese, stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, rolls, pumpkin pie, apple pie, pumpkin bread, like the whole thing. It's like $400 and some. And they make it for family of four. The big feast is for like 8 to 10. You get like this huge turkey breast and stuff. Everything's packed cold, and all you have to do is reheat according to their timeline and their instructions, or to whenever you want to eat, or whatever. And because you get like a little like pamphlet that tells you how to heat everything up. And he goes, and we go and we get everything. We're fine. I'd stop at the craft store for mommy to get some stuff. But after that, we go home. He's fine. He's whatever it needs to be. And then we cut to Thanksgiving. And this is where the actual scariness happened. Again, digital peeps. So, my dad, he was fine all day until dinner time. So I was over there, was nuking everything up the way they were telling me to. But it was finishing off my ice tea. But anyway, so 6 o'clock comes because you want to eat at 6. You start at 4. And it shows you like how to like prepare everything and how to heat it up and everything like that. So I was preparing dinner, and sorry, what happens when you have popcorn? Excuse me for that. Right at 6 o'clock, my dad's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom before I eat. And we were like, okay. As he starts to go to the bathroom, the same thing that happened on that Monday, comes to fruition. He starts like falling down, I'm falling and I can't get up kind of situation. And I finally managed to get him onto the toilet. He goes onto the toilet. He managed to hoist himself back into our room, or his bedroom. And he, all of a sudden, once he gets back in there and we start to have dinner, me and my mother, he's like, I'm not feeling good. My stomach's a little churny. he takes his garbage can and he's no, the way he, I say barfy fires is very funny to me. Just how loud it is and how and that's all he kept doing, like all through, like he would like barf and then he would, but it was mostly like phlegmy stuff, and he would like do that for a while, and he's like, I don't know, my stomach's real churny and all this kind of stuff, and we gave him ginger ale and some Ritz crackers to help his tummy. Me and my mother were eating dinner. We had a very lovely dinner. It was great. Everything tasted great. Everything was wonderful. Um, and then we were trying to talk to him and say, hey Dad, how you doing? What's going on? He wouldn't say anything. He would just kind of give us a stare out of nowhere. And he goes, whatever, I'm fine, bro. Kind of on the meanie side a little bit. Um, and whatever. Sorry, I was pulling up something that I needed to read. And all this. And my mother gets, he's like this for a period of time. I was like, okay. It was, he kept barfing on and off. It was 2 something in the morning when my mom's like, that's it, I've had enough. She calls 911 again. To 2 lovely AMBO people, EMTs come in, and they're trying to like wake him up, trying to do whatever. He's just like, he's being incoherent. He's just, it's scaring me and my mom. I was putting things away from Thanksgiving, like putting the food away and, like putting everything back. And, I was cleaning up the kitchen when all this was going on. And like, I stayed down here, let the EMT people in. They had to bring that chair thingy again, strapped him in. And my mom thought it was so heartbreaking for her to see him strapped in with this hood over his face and everything. And she's like, take good care of my husband and all this kind of stuff. And they were very lucky and thankful that we had his discharge papers from when he went in that Monday. And we gave him that. We gave him, we gave them a bag of his coat, his shoes, and his phone. And they said, okay, we'll make sure that he gets this while he's there and everything. They get to the ER and they do a CT on his stomach because we had told them that he was vomiting, uh, here and there, all, all evening and what have you. And they couldn't find anything wrong with that. So they said, well, and now right after the first time he went in, which was that Monday, excuse me, a couple of hours into it, we had called my dad's doctor to let him know that he had been in there. And they said, we'll let him know, his receptionist or whoever she was. Okay, fine. Because my dad's PCP, his primary care physician, was right down the road from where I live at. Oh. Oh. Excuse me. And so the hospital let him know that he was there the first time, that Monday. So we called again that Friday, because this was like the next day, because they wouldn't, like, nobody called us and say, this is what's going on with Dad or what have you, kind of thing. My mom called the hospital and spoke to an ER doctor there, and that's when he said, he came in, we gave him a CT scan of his stomach, because you said he was vomiting. We didn't find anything wrong there. We're still doing a number of tests. They had to put him to sleep because he was so real combative when he got in there. He was just yelling, all that kind of stuff. And it was becoming very scary because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know whether he was having another mini stroke, what have you. Could be anything at this point. They did confirm that it was a tiny, tiny little mini stroke, because what they found while his carotid artery was blocked 50%, and the one in his brain, the one that goes up to your brain or whatever, was blocked 80%. So that could be the reason for a stroke, the mini stroke. And so they were going to monitor him and whatnot with medications. So that's what happened, like the first, when he went in that Monday and all that. So we thought, oh no, he's having something bigger, all that kind of stuff. And all that. So then, when it else ended up happening is that Friday, they didn't tell us that he was moved after the ER visit. So he was in the ER maybe 3 or 4 hours. And then he was moved to a room, which they didn't even call and say, hey, Mrs., oh, well, my mother's name is Joyce. My father's name is Ricky. Full name Richard, but goes by Rick or Ricky. So I'll say Mrs. Joyce, because she was going by her last name. But her last name's also my last name, so I'm not going to give that out. But Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, your husband's being moved to a room and all that kind of stuff, because they wouldn't call us and give us a definitive answer as to what's going on. And we had called my dad's doctor that Friday, the next day. They said they knew about his first time, which was that Monday in the hospital. They didn't know about the second time he was in there. And they said, well, he'll go there at midnight, because that's one of his hospitals. There's Jefferson Memorial Hospital, is where my dad was. Lo and behold, as we come to find out, that it's an insulin problem with my dad. My dad has type 2 diabetes, like myself. And he was using what they call Atlantis pen. So it's like a pen like this, and you dial the insulin and you give yourself insulin. And they think that because he was just giving himself whatever he thought was the correct amount, like they didn't say, oh, you need 50 milligrams here, you need at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you need, all this kind of stuff. And that's why he was, it's an insulin problem. And so what they're doing is he's got to have, an insulin for breakfast, and then you got to take that same one like at lunch and then at dinner. And then he'll take his Lantus at night. Well, that's more, it's a long-lasting kind of insulin. And it comes in like a gray pen with like a baby pink dial and pusher kind of thing. And that's what they think was causing him to go in and out of consciousness and being from coherent to incoherent. And then after that, once they figured that out, once they started figuring this out, he had to see an endocrinologist, which is a hormone doctor, to see where his hormone levels are, what's going, how do we proceed with this whole insulin thing. And so my dad saw that. My dad was literally in the hospital for like 8 days. He had come home Thursday on, let me see what day that was. He come home on the 4th of December. Yeah. It was a little bit, before 4 o'clock on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. Southwestern Pennsylvania. And his one best friend, whose name Bert Farkas, he used to play bass in the band. Him and my dad left the Vogues for reasons won't get into. but things were just going on that were happening that he wasn't thrilled with. I'll say that much. I don't know who they got to bass and drum now. All I know is that they're no longer in the band and that they got new bass and drums. So, and when he first got, he was in no more in the house in like 5 minutes, and he's like starting getting meany again, you know, because he thought something didn't look right and he was being angry about it. And once he kind of like calmed down and he settled into the house and all this kind of stuff, he was fine. He's been pretty okay right now. I know they switched like all his meds around, so he has to take like things just in the morning now, things just at night, and then you gotta take a couple of things 3 times a day. So that's your morning, noon, and night stuff. Uh, Actually, this is my pill caddy. I got this off of Amazon, but I have 3 pills, but I take one of them 2 times a day. So that would be my metformin at breakfast and at dinner or the evening. Oh, I have this on wrong. Oh my god, I have this flipped upside down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Here it is. I bought this one off of Amazon, but I have to take uh 3 pills in the morning and 1 pill in the evening. So I take my metformin, 500 milligrams, just for the sugar. So I have to take it when I eat dinner and when I eat breakfast. And then I have a BP pill, which kind of looks like a teardrop. It's a BP pill made for diabetics. I have slightly elevated BP. Not uber high, but it's slightly elevated. And I take this, what appears to be like a squash little football. It's a Lipitor, which is cholesterol pill. And my dad's on 20 milligrams of that pill, but they wanted to up it to like 40 and such to help him get rid of stuff. Anyway, and so he's been fine. You know, he hasn't gone back to the hospital so far. Yay, we're very lucky and very happy. And I was praying to his mother and his dad, my grandma, my pappy, you know, get your son through this. Excuse me, I burped. And all this kind of stuff. So, um, and whatnot. So, um, so he's just trying to figure out, you know, remembering to take all his. I mean, he's really good about taking all his pills, but now that he's on his schedule and everything, it's just trying to keep up and remember everything and things of that nature. Um, we don't know where in the brain the small stroke happened. Um, so we're wondering that if his carotid and all that little piece of it broke off and, you know, that plaques or whatever. And when they were in the hospital, that when he went back in the second time on, and see when they did a Doppler, they did that. They didn't do that the first time. They did it in the second. Yeah, I think that's when they find out about his carotid and all this kind of stuff. So, my dad's fine at the moment. He's doing okay. Um, I know he'll have to see doctors soon for things. I don't know when and all that. Um, but he can drive. He's fine. He doesn't have any blurred vision or anything like that. Um, he's still slightly wobbly. He's back to like his normal kind of, you know. Well, he got a little soaked in the hospital because he came home and I said, Dad, I said you're looking a little on the thinner side. So, you know, that kind of stuff. Because sometimes, you know, you go to the hospital and you can lose some weight. And all this kind of stuff. And then there was one point when he was at the hospital. Um, they moved me, I'm in a different room. I went to call the nurse's station. And they took him from his bed to the bathroom. And that's what was causing him to be confused a little bit. Because they helped him to the bathroom and helped him back in bed. And that's why he was saying, right. And we would call him, he would call us. So I got to talk to my dad on the phone, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so my dad's great. He's out of the hospital. He's doing a little better. He's not as agitated. He's coherent now, and he's looking and feeling a little better. They also checked for another bladder infection because maybe, like, it didn't show up the first time, it showed up the second time. But, and my mom was mad because nobody was not calling us and telling us, okay, Mrs. Joyce, this is what's going on with your husband. All this kind of stuff. But I got to talk to him. He felt really, really bad that he hit me that first time. He goes, it's so out of character for me, all that kind of stuff. So, he felt kind of bad and very sorry for that. And I said, no, it's all right, Dad. You were in an agitated state. You were having a medical emergency. Sometimes, you do these things beyond your control. So, and all that. So, there we go. There's the full entire update of what's been going on. So, like I said, with my mom, the blood hasn't changed since last time. So, she's still staying at this 0.5, this point, or whatever this is, 0.5, and all that. If you want to know what I got people for Christmas, there's a video on Instagram. You can find it. You'll see my little Amazon haul up in there. I told you about my post to Tumblr, so go check that out. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see a photo that has, it's blue, and then there's brown, and there's pumpkins, and there's a silhouette of a witch, and bats and stars and a moon. That'll give you a link to that post. So there you go. If you want to check it out, check some love. But I thank you. We love being here on YouTube. We've done lots of things. It's probably my last video of the year, so I'll see you sometime next year. If you saw, I posted the video before this. We read a very wonderful children's book for story time with Ms. mkgtweety. Because my favorite thing in the whole entire world, that I forgot to mention, is she actually has another Grammy nom for her children's album. It's called The Music of Tori and the Muses. Her book is called Tori and the Muses. You can go pick it up. It is this book right here, with illustrations by the mkgtweety. So you can go pick this up wherever if you want a good Christmas present, or you're looking for maybe a little shower gift. This is it. This has to do with part of her childhood, a part in her childhood that got turned into a story, a children's book. Some guy from Penguin came to her and said, oh, in your liner notes, you thank the muses and fairies. And she's like, I didn't think anybody read my liner notes. I go, I do. I read them all the time. And he said, I want to do something about it. So they collaborated a little bit, and she did this. And the album that she made for it, which is The Music of 20 Muses, has been Grammy nominated in the children's album category. So, yay! Crossing our fingers, hoping that she wins. This is her 9th nomination. The last time she's been nominated was 22 years ago. She should have got one for her classical album, Night of Hunters. NOH, as we shorten it in my community, my ears with feet world. Because there's the Swifties, there's the Beehive, there's the Monsters. I'm with ear with feet. I like to say ears with feet. I know that, but and the cool thing is when she goes on tour, she's actually playing on London at the Royal Albert Hall on my birthday on April 21st. So that, because we follow her around like puppy dogs online, especially like on tour, because people, they tweet out the set list, they tweet out what's going on. they'll like say, oh, here's 30 seconds of Crucify from tonight, or here's Sound of These Years from wherever, and all the photos and things like that. So, yay! It's gonna be. Ugh. We loved. It feels like you went all around the world with her on tour, but you didn't. But you didn't leave your house. So, yeah. And so we read the story for story time with Ms. mkgtweety. So that's the newest book in the series. So you can go check that out, show it some love. It's kind of like when you go to story time at your library. I did that. So, and it was filmed when I got the book. So, beginning of the year. So, I'm gonna go, digital peeps. Smell you later. Bye. Live in Lippy. I hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye, digital peeps. Live in Lippy. Mwah.